Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're opening up what is basically a survival guide. Now, I know, you're probably thinking, a survival guide for being rich? Oh, poor me, right? Give me a break. But honestly, stick with me here, because what we're looking at today is a deeply pragmatic, highly defensive manual for navigating unexpected fortune. We're going to treat sudden wealth not like some flashy lottery commercial, but as an actual emergency scenario, one that you absolutely need to be mathematically and psychologically prepared for. Just imagine waking up tomorrow, and bam, there are millions of dollars sitting right there in your checking account. Maybe that weekend side hustle suddenly took off and got acquired. Or maybe an obscure investment just went straight to the moon. Or, maybe you just hit the absolute jackpot and won the lottery. Your initial reaction? Pure, unadulterated thrill, right? I mean, you'd be ecstatic. But okay, let's dive into this, because the reality of what actually happens next to most people is, quite frankly, terrifying.
Because history shows us, time and time again, that sudden wealth is a trap. It really is the ultimate cautionary tale. The statistics and historical records are just incredibly grim. A staggering number of people who get rich fast, they end up losing every single penny. They end up divorced, alienated, completely bankrupt. They just absolutely ruin their relationships and their peace of mind. And why does this happen? Well, it's because they have absolutely no management framework in place. They treat wealth like it's this endless raging party rather than a highly volatile asset that requires immediate, serious defense. The truth is, if you want to keep your wealth, you literally cannot just wing it.
Which brings us to Section 1, the sudden wealth trap.
So, before we can even talk about growing your money or enjoying it, we really have to talk about surviving it. We must first understand just how profoundly dangerous sudden wealth is to the amateur spender. To really get this trap, let's look at the tragic, real-life story of Jack Whitaker. Back in 2002, Jack won a staggering, record-breaking $315 million lottery jackpot. Day one, he is on top of the world. But by month one, he's doing exactly what amateurs do. He's telling everyone, he's flashing cash around, buying cars for friends, acquaintances, you name it. But then, look at year one. Because he made himself this massive, highly visible target, he was constantly sued, he was blackmailed, people just descended on him like literal vultures, and his family life completely fell apart under all that immense stress. By year 5, he had lost virtually everything. And this brings us right to rule 1 of sudden wealth. Go stealth rich. Silence is absolutely your best armor here. When you come into money, the single only person you should tell is a trusted estate attorney, so they can set up a private trust. Tell literally nobody else.
And that leads us into Section 2, defending against the vultures.
So, once you've secured your anonymity as best as you possibly can, you need immediate behavioral defenses. You have to protect your wealth not just from other people, but from your own worst enemy, and that is your own boredom. So this leads to Rule 2, the 6-month freeze. Look, the absolute first instinct people have when they strike it rich is to dramatically march right into their boss's office and quit their job. Do not do this. If you hate your job, sure, you can leave eventually, but you need a cooling-off period first. A 6-month lifestyle freeze prevents the incredibly dangerous combination of being rich and being bored at the same time. Bored millionaires are a disaster waiting to happen. They start random restaurants they know absolutely nothing about, they fund terrible movie ideas, or they just blow cash on luxury items purely to fill the hours in the day. So keep your routine. Remember this very simple truth. If you are at work, you aren't outspending money.
Next up is Rule 3, which is all about the interest rate reset, and this brilliantly illustrates the exact mathematical reality of debt. Paying off a 25% interest credit card is mathematically identical to earning a guaranteed, risk-free 25% return on your money. Think about that. Nowhere in the stock market are you going to get a guaranteed 25% return. No way. So you use your new wealth to instantly wipe out those high-interest liabilities like credit cards and personal loans. However, it's honestly just as important to know what not to pay off. If you have low-interest debt, like say a 3% mortgage, you actually want to keep it. Your investments can easily outpace that 3% rate, meaning your money works a lot harder for you when it's invested rather than tied up paying off cheap debt.
Moving on to Section 3, navigating friends and family.
Now, this is arguably the most emotionally difficult part of sudden wealth. Honestly, it's the part that really breaks people. Because when you get rich suddenly, the people around you, even completely well-meaning loved ones, are often going to feel entitled to a piece of it. You have to learn how to handle this without ruining your relationships or just going entirely broke. So enter Rule 4. The absolute quickest way to lose a friend or alienate a family member is to lend them money. Loaning money completely changes the dynamic. You become the bank and they become the debtor. It just breeds resentment. So if a loved one genuinely needs help, you follow this millionaire protocol. Step 1, give them the money as a one-time gift. Step 2, never ever expect it back. Just consider it gone. And step 3, and this is the most crucial boundary of all, explicitly state that they can never ask you for money again. Setting this firm boundary protects your relationships and ensures you don't become everyone's personal emergency fund. Now, let's see how this builds into the broader mathematical framework of actually keeping your money forever.
Here in Section 4, we look at the freedom figure formula. We're shifting gears now from the behavioral and social rules to the really concrete mathematical defenses for protecting your principal. You see, wealthy people do not look at a pile of cash and think about how to spend it. They look at cash as a money tree. You never chop down the money tree for firewood. You only ever harvest the fruit it produces. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this single number right here, 25. This is your secret multiplier. This is Rule 5. To figure out exactly how large your money tree needs to be, what we call your freedom figure, you simply take the annual income you need to live comfortably and you multiply it by 25. It really is that simple, and it's incredibly powerful.
So let's look at how the math actually works in practice. Let's say your desired income, the amount you need to live a fantastic, totally stress-free life every year, is $200,000. Well, you multiply that $200,000 by 25. That gives you a required investment of $5 million. Now, why 25? Well, it's because of the 4% safe withdrawal rate. Statistically speaking, if you have a properly diversified portfolio, you can withdraw 4% of it every single year to live on, and the underlying investments will actually grow enough to replenish what you took out. So that means you get your $200,000 a year forever, without ever having to chop down that core $5 million tree. It essentially becomes this perfect, self-sustaining ecosystem.
Which brings us to Section 5, the preservation portfolio. You really have to understand that once you've hit your freedom figure, your primary financial goal instantly and permanently shifts. You're no longer focused on aggressive, risky growth. You've already won the game. Your only goal now is absolute preservation. So how do we build that self-sustaining ecosystem? Well, let's play the role of a discrete wealth manager for a second. Here's exactly how a standard $4.5 million preservation portfolio breaks down to defend your wealth against basically all economic climates. First up, $1 million goes into a broad stock market index fund. This is for your long-term growth. It fights off inflation. Next, $1 million into a total bond market index fund. This acts as your anchor. It provides stability when the stock market inevitably crashes. Then, another $1 million is split into real estate. Think residential and commercial for steady, reliable cash flow. Another $1 million sits right in a high-yield savings account. This is your liquid cash safety net, so you can access it instantly if you ever need it. And finally, $500,000 goes into a blue-chip crypto like Bitcoin. This acts as a high-volatility moonshot. It's a small, contained risk that could offer massive upside without ever threatening your core survival.
And finally, Section 6, the 10% rule. Now, if you were doing the math just now, you probably noticed we only allocated $4.5 million of our $5 million tree. So what about that last $500,000? Well, we've been talking entirely about defense and survival up to this point, but now we finally get to talk about the reward. Rule 7 is the 10% fun rule. That remaining $500,000, or 10% of your sudden wealth windfall, is your absolute guilt-free fun money. You want a sports car? Go buy it. Want to take your friends on a crazy first-class trip to the Maldives? Do it. Want to buy some ridiculous watch? Go right ahead. Because you followed the rules and because you secured yourself first, you can spend this 10% without an ounce of anxiety. Your core legacy is completely secure in that preservation portfolio. The money tree is perfectly safe.
So the crucial point is this. True wealth isn't about buying sports cars to impress a bunch of strangers. It's really about buying back your time. This entire explainer, all of these rules we just went through, they aren't meant to restrict you at all. They are meant to liberate you. The ultimate luxury in this world isn't a fancy designer label. It's having the absolute freedom to wake up on a random Tuesday and decide exactly how you want to spend your day on your own terms, without having to answer to anyone.
So I want to leave you with one final question to think about. What is your freedom figure? Seriously, don't wait until you stumble into a bunch of money to figure this out. Calculate your desired annual income right now. Multiply it by 25 and write that number down. Because if sudden wealth ever does strike, you definitely don't want to become another tragic statistic. You want to have the blueprint ready to go so you can survive the windfall, protect your peace, and buy back your time forever. Thanks for exploring this survival guide with me today, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.